Café Anyway. Here we are. It's Mike, okay?
It's Mike's Daddy Podcast.
That's right, it is. And we're at Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth, and a show called
Mike's Daily Podcast.
What a week. So far you paid your taxes, or maybe you have not, and then you're going to live in Camelot. No, you're going to live in a penitentiary because they'll get the taxes away from you, and you will be so happy, and this world will be happy too because they'll have your money. And that's my taxes song. I think that was loosely based
Daily Podcast.
Loosely based on the Beatles' Taxman, but not very well. So
Mike's
here we are,
Daily
and there you are,
Podcast.
listening to the podcast.
Yeah!
It is oh so full of things to discuss today. Let's see. The IRS expects 19 million people to file for a 6-month extension. Oh, wow. Yes, but that doesn't work out in the end, does it? It's recommended you remit a payment on the 15th if you expect to owe money to avoid interest and penalties. Mark Cuban said he's sending the IRS $288 million, and he's proud to pay his share. A lot of people say, hey, it's better to pay the IRS than get money back from the IRS, because the money is basically a loan that you gave the IRS. That's them giving it back with absolutely no added interest paid to it. So you basically just lent them money for free. Beyonce's bounce. Western boot sales have jumped more than 20%. Week over week over week, ever since the song Cowboy Carter, or the album Cowboy Carter, came out with that huge Texas Hold'em song, and then her cover of Jolene. Tesla is going to lay off more than 10% of its staff. So they have over 140,000 employees globally.
And here's today's podcast picture.
So it's going to affect about 15,000 workers. The podcast picture is of the beautiful Marina Del Rey. George Strait sang a song about Marina Del Rey, speaking of Western boots and everything in Texas. This ain't Texas, ain't no Hold'em. But yeah, they loved The World Away in Marina Del Rey, George Strait sang. Marina Del Rey, where I used to go many, many, many times with my mom when I was growing up, because we lived in the San Fernando Valley. We'd want to cool down, so we'd go out to the beach. And my lovely lady friend and I visited it recently, and that's a picture from that. Oh, the late great Basil the Boxer loved the beach. We would take him to the beach often, and he would chase the sandpipers and cause them all kinds of problems. But at least it's not like my cat Rocky, who was featured in a recent podcast picture, ate a bee today. That's springtime for you. I think I'll eat a bee because I'm a cat. But yes, see all the podcast pictures that I take, all the wonderful ones, at mikesdailypodcast.com. Tesla cut its full self-serving. Self-serving. That's Elon Musk. Sorry, I got that confused. No, but the cuts affected about 15,000 workers at Tesla. They cut its full self-driving subscriptions in half for customers in the U.S. and Canada to $99 per month. We heard about a recent traffic accident. I forget now. It probably was fatal from what I remember, but yes, caused by the self-driving thing.
The word of dog.
Aw, here's Basil again, adding some more interesting comments in his little mini podcast there for you. So Trump media shares plunged 15%. Remember, it came out and everybody's like, woo, look at it. Trump just made a bunch of money with this new social media app. It just lost 15%. The share did after it went public a couple weeks back. Now it's dropped 15% after the company filed to issue additional 21 million stock shares for the company that Trump owns. His Trump Media company is not called Trump Media as the stock. Well, in the stock It's not called like Trump. Let's see. You know how they shorten down the names? They do the abbreviation. It's DJT.
Mike's Matthewsman Park.
The front panel will close automatically. Please remain seated at all times.
What a crazy amusement park this is. Called Life. No, it's called DJT, his stocks. For Donald J. Trump. Trump media fell nearly 20% the previous week. His current stake in the company was worth more than $2.2 billion, but now it's 15% less. So, but in the world that you and I inhabit, where we go out and buy things, although I don't really go, I mean, I will go to Costco. I have to do a Costco run and pick up some more flour. Get some more
Mr.
flour.
President, are you suggesting President Biden's using cocaine?
I don't know what he's using, but that was not, hey, he was higher than a kite. And by the way, it was the worst address I've ever seen. State of the Nation. I'll tell you, State of the Union, that's not State of the Union because he doesn't represent us properly. That I can tell you.
DJT right there, everybody. What was that white stuff? Was it flour? Well, I need to go get some more flour at Costco. And that's when I push myself and I go and I actually go and buy something out there in the world of retail. Well, consumer spending accounts for nearly 70%. That's a huge amount of the U.S. economic output. So it is critical to continued growth in gross domestic product, and rising inflation in March didn't deter consumers who continued shopping at a more rapid pace than anticipated.
Mike's out of left field recordings.
Recording everything captures actions that will never again be repeated.
People are buying despite the inflation. Retail sales increased a little less than 1%. As we go outside a Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. In the land of Ameritopica with all these interesting topicas. So almost 1% for the month. But considerably faster than the forecast of Café Anyway, 0.3% rise. Excluding auto-related receipts, retail sales jumped a little over 1%, also well ahead of the estimated 0.5%. A rise in gas prices, yes, we all know about that now. It's over $5 everywhere you go here in the Bay Area. Even at Costco. A rise in gas prices helped push the retail sales number higher, with sales up 2% on the month at service stations. It seems like more, but they say just 2.1%.
A fine article.
And to wrap up this wonderful, silly, fat article, the biggest growth area for the month was online sales, up 2.7%, almost 3%. That means a lot, I guess. I don't know. It doesn't seem like a lot, 3%. The losers were in sporting goods, books, clothing stores, and electronics. They all did not do so well. I got that from Rob Black. I produce his podcast. You can hear his podcast. You can hear his live show on the radio station AM 1220 KDOW Monday through Friday. Also, he is heard on, well, he's seen on TV on Kron Monday through Thursday in the 9 o'clock hour. One other interesting thing he pointed out, and that is Caitlin Clark. A perfect storm driven by Caitlin Clark's popularity and NIL deals has sent prices of her trading cards to new heights. The NCAA Division
and now
I
we return you to our regularly scheduled program with Mike Matthews.
career scoring leader Caitlin Clark will be selected first by the Indiana Fever during the WNBA draft. Oh, this happened earlier this week. Her presence drove NCAA tournament TV ratings to record highs of 14 million plus. That's right. My coworker Miles was telling me about her. Oh, and the other interesting, eBay visitors have searched Caitlin Clark on its site more than 11,000 times daily. No women's professional basketball player has ever had collectibles market like this prior. On eBay, 7 trading cards are listed for more than $10,000. People have a lot of money they just want to throw away. That included a $20,000 autographed card commemorating her record-breaking 3,528th point. Well, that would be significant to someone, but wow, 20,000?
Magnification.
Fascinating. Outside of Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcaster Valley. You know, sometimes I think that this podcast and the show that I did on the radio that preceded it, and I sometimes feature clips on it. I featured it on the podcast that was named Perception that came out earlier this week. We were playing some of the stuff I used to do live on the radio on K-Hay, when I did the K-Hay Santa Fe Cafe. I did that for 11 years, from the mid-90s to the mid-O's.
The Marco Minute. The Marco Minute.
And I actually, during that time, I worked for 2 different Marcos during that time. One who spelled his name with a K, and no, actually they both spelled it with a C. That later I worked with a guy named Marco with a K, but yes. But those 2 Marcos, they were the general manager, and they were always dressed super nicely and always drinking their really expensive Starbucks lattes and driving their nice cars and just not working all that much, just showing up and looking like GQ. Yes, that's what I remember. But that was going on in the 90s. And the O's. And I was listening to a podcast today about someone who is being hosted by some millennials. And they grew up basically in the 90s and remembered some of the interesting things that they saw on TV. Like, they were discussing how Ren and Stimpy today would never fly because it was just so weird and odd and disturbing, and how parents today would not put up with that. That's too weird. Oh, they said shut up on that. That's too much. And think how times have changed. And they were saying, you know how everybody's saying like society's going to heck in a handbasket? Well, it did that already in the 90s. And I'm thinking what leads me all this direction is that it is
the Fascinating Material Project. FM Project.
It is time for the FM Project, the Fascinating Material Project. And what I was doing on FM was in some ways what I was seeing also on television, particularly on Adult Swim. It got launched in the 90s. And the big show that they had was Space Ghost Coast to Coast. And that show later, from that and from that company that made that odd, crazy, they call it soft world. There's the hard world and soft world. Hard world fiction is like your Lord of the Rings, where J.R.R. Tolkien came up with this.
Cutting corners, corner.
The cutting corners, corner. He didn't cut any corners. There was so much for him. He put all kinds of rules in place. It was a hard world, like a living, breathing. Same thing with Rowling doing her Potter stuff. It's just, it lives in a world, even though it's fantasy, there are rules to it. Same with Doctor Who. I'm thinking of other people's, your Star Wars. But in the world of Space Ghost, anything happened. It was soft world. I'd never heard that dichotomy until I was watching a YouTube channel about it. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm kind of a soft world person. That's right. Thank you. So some of this that's going on here at Café Anyway, and what I did on the K-Hay Santa Fe Cafe was soft world stuff. Just anything goes. It's absurd, the absurdity that happens. And that was the longest intro ever for this person right here.
Oh my God, this is Chely Shoehart, gift supervisor. I made
Hey kids, it's me.
Do-re-mi the clown.
That's my friend. He's a creep. And I made these wonderful snow globes. And they're soft, like your soft world thing, Mike Matthews. Soft snow globes. Let me throw one on the ground. Ooh, that's messy. I hope someone will be able to clean that. Oh, Mike, this is Floyd the Floorman. Oh, perfect. He showed up. And this is John Deere, the engineer. Yeah, Floyd will clean that up, even though it's ground. But he'll clean it up because it's basically a floor. But it's outside, so we call it ground.
We love you, Mike.
Did you make some kind of apparatus to help clean it for Floyd? Yes, I made an apparatus because I'm an engineer and I make all kinds of things and I fix things. And I make things that clean things and fix things because I'm an engineer and I fix stuff. And I engineer that. I think we'll end it there. Next show, it'll be the wonderful Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, and the Brewmaster. Jesus Jones, right here, right now, got popular in the early 90s. And I think I have 3 of their CDs I am seeing right now outside of Café Anyway. I don't know why the CDs... You should never leave your CDs outside. Even though they have a case that's very not environmentally friendly, and it won't biodegrade or anything, but it will survive being outside, I guess. Where did this podcast go? Maybe give me a call and we'll find out where it went. Here's the phone number.
Call Mike at the Café Anyway hotline. Area code 510-228-4640.
Ginormous.
Magnification.
Oh, and if you want to find, go through all the Space Ghost Coast to Coast, the old shows, they're showing them live on the Adult Swim Kombucha channel, the Adult Swim YouTube channel, I mean. And they're showing all the old, and what's fun to watch about it, especially the 90s stuff, is Space Ghost is interviewing all these people that are dead. All these 90s stars, and these people that would just, they were talk show vermin. They'd always show up on all these talk shows. The Danny Bonaducci's, the Hulk Hogan's, the Steve Allen showed up. And so Steve Allen died, I think in 99, maybe early 2001, somewhere in there. And my dad actually worked with him on the Benny Goodman movie that he did years ago.
Magnification.
And I was once at a musical in Thousand Oaks. They had done a musical of those funny songs, Hello Mudda, Hello Fada. What's his name? Alan Sherman, that wrote those comedy songs, poking fun at. It was basically parodies. And so it was a musical that used all the parodies. And Steve Allen was there at the after party. I got to go to the after party. It was through Keihei. And then I regret that I never talked to him.
You will travel into the incredible universe.
But he seemed to be busy. A lot of people were talking to him. But he was right there. And now he's gone. And he was tall from what I remember. And he had an awful toupee on. But Steve Allen was on Space Ghost Coast to Coast. And Charlton Heston and the Bee Gees. And they're all looking confused, like, what is going on? Because they were not interviewed actually by Space Ghost, but by these young students in Atlanta, Georgia, who were studying to be actors. They were going to acting school, and Ted Turner paid them to just interview these celebrities that were coming to the Ted Turner complex to be on CNN and all his other networks. And they got to, so they're talking to celebrities, and they were given a list of questions that were really oddball and weird. And then later on Space Ghost, Coast to Coast, they would chop up all the footage, and that's why it looks all weird and out of sync and nothing makes sense, and it's absurd. Okay. And with more absurd things that you can find on the website and more ways to reach me and all that, it's A-Frame.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!